The last two times Celtic played Hearts, we lost 2-0 on each occasion, once at Celtic Park, once at Tynecastle. But in just 4 minutes at Celtic Park yesterday, Kyogo put all of those doubts aside as he set Celtic on the road to a 3-0 victory, a massive win, James, in the title race. What's your initial response to the win?
It was a real statement, but everything that could have gone right went right yesterday, from the fans, the players, the coaches, the management. Everything was right yesterday. You could feel it coming up to Parkhead. There was just a real atmosphere, and then you get into the ground and it's crackling at kick-off. It was just as much a buzz as I've had at Celtic this season. It's great.
What about that? Where do you think that all comes from? It was all set for yesterday, wasn't it? I agree. So we arrived differently at the ground, and same on the walk up, you could feel the buzz around. Yesterday, I thought yesterday was as good a day as we've had at Celtic Park in a long, long time, and certainly, as good a day this season.
Moving back to the 3-0 February game against Rangers and Ange's first season, to go top of the league, to have such an enjoyable day as that. But yeah, I mean, the fans just, I think, through the week, there's been, chat, and we've got an idea of what we need to do to get it done. And, you put a post out yourself on Friday saying, got to play our part. And they did. They absolutely, every single fan stood up. Everyone was at it from the word go, just fantastic.
Yeah, I think everybody inside Celtic Park yesterday, from fans to coaches to subs to ball boys to everybody, played their part yesterday. It was massive. I need to give a shout out, first of all, James, to Ian O'Sullivan. Ian's from the Cork #1 CSE and joined us for a bit after the game yesterday for a couple of beers. I need to give huge credit to Ian and guys like him. Ian left Cork at 1:30 on Friday night into Saturday morning to get to Dublin, to get a flight to Edinburgh, to get to Glasgow, to meet a guy for tickets, to go to the game, to give the guy the tickets back, to come and meet us for a couple of beers, and to scoot back to Edinburgh for his flight home. It's something like a 28-hour turnaround to get back home at 4:30 this morning. So credit to Ian. It was great to catch up with him, Kieran and Joseph last night. So brilliant stuff. Thanks to everyone who continues to join us in the live chat. Please feel free to let James and myself know any comments or questions surrounding yesterday's game. We'll do our very best to catch up on them. James, in terms of the starting lineup, huge boost to have Maeda fit again, but obviously he started on the bench. There was a debate. We had the debate ourselves about whether Kalmak should have started. He did start, and over the piece he played a huge part, didn't he?
Oh, he did. I mean, it was the right call. It's the call I thought Rodgers would have made, whether it was right or not. I think, to get McGregor minutes was the most important thing looking at next week. And it's one game at a time, we'll understand that. But we needed those minutes in Kalmak's legs. And I thought he played fantastic. He really did. Maybe a bit slow getting into the game, but that's just his fitness coming back. After the first maybe 15, 20 minutes, he was in it and he was on it. He was just, it was a captain's performance from him. And I think against teams like Hearts, I like Iwata. I think he's a real talent himself. But I think you need a McGregor to bring you through, and he did that.
I've mentioned it a few times. I certainly mentioned it to anyone that was listening to me last night, and I put it out on Twitter. Callum McGregor's tackle around about 55 and a half minutes into the game. It's as big a cheer as you'll hear at Celtic Park for a goal, let alone anything else. There was just something, as you say, the atmosphere was crackling. There was an electricity in there at Celtic Park yesterday. We're 2-0 up at this stage, and Kalmak tracks back, 30, 40 yards with his runner, looked like he'd lost it, then he get back on, and he makes a brilliant tackle, and the place just went after it. And there was a situation between that and around about 60 minutes, just pockets of folks start standing up and just losing their minds. It was brilliant. There was just a real energy about it. But Brendan Rodgers has spoken in the past, James, about it's one thing asking fans to play their part. The players need to give you something to get excited about. And I think whether it's Callum McGregor or Kyogo or Matt O'Reilly or whoever, the players all played their part in just bringing what was just a real buzzing occasion at Celtic Park.
Yeah, I mean, players and management, you give you something. But, I think you can look wider as well. And the board need to recognise how much influence they've got on creating atmospheres at Celtic Park. And, when they're doing what they've done this season, they create bad atmospheres. And that's in their gift to not do that, to have days like today every single week, every other week. But yeah, I thought, see me get that early goal at Celtic Park, it's a real, for the cliche, it's a game changer, in terms of what it means to the fans and the atmosphere in the stadium. So once you get that, you can start to believe that where we were in January, February has been turned around and we're going to do this.
Yeah, that goal absolutely changes everything. Just before I get to it, there's a comment from Patrick Duffy. Patrick says, bad timing, lads. Hope we're finished by 1 o'clock as he's hoping to go and listen to the Rangers Kilmarnock game. You could call it bad time or you could call it perfect time, Patrick, because we'll be done and dusted by 1 o'clock and you and various others can go and catch Rangers crumbling at Ibrox, because that's what I see happening. I think mentally they're all over the place, and I think today could be a real example of that. I think they're going to be up against it. There's going to be a real tension there. So fret not, Patrick, you can catch the game in good time. We'll be done and dusted by then. James, let's talk about the opening goal. So it's Kyogo, and big games, big moments, big players. You know, there's been some criticism for Kyogo this year. He's not been at his brilliant best, but he continues to chip in with lots of important goals. I need to check this, but someone said that's him now back level at the top of the scoring charts as well. It's not bad for a guy who's having an under par season, if you want to call it that. But you need to give huge credit for the goal to Reo Hatate. The ball breaks to him in the edge of the box, and he could be excused for having a crack at that, you know, swinging the left foot and seeing where it goes. He's just got the culture and the awareness to clap it back into a really dangerous area, and Kyogo finishes brilliantly.
Yeah, you know, Kyogo's numbers for the season are a direct result of the supply he gets and our indifferent wing form throughout the season. Now you get two excellent balls from Hatate and O'Reilly, and Kyogo will get himself in the place to score them if you feed him. So he did that. But the first goal, yeah, fantastic. You know, decent cross in, breaks to Hatate. I agree. I think most fans were saying have a go, but he's just the thing about Hatate, and he's not fit yet. You could see that yesterday, but he's got a bit of genius about him. He can spot that maybe others couldn't. That Kyogo's in a good place. Heart's claiming offside. He's well onside, and then it's tucked away. There's a lot of work to do as a defender and a goalie to beat there. And you know, Kyogo's got the head on it, put it down, and it's you're off to a flyer there. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. My mistake on the scoring charts. Top scorer is Shankland on 21. Kyogo's a bit behind that on 14, but there's a few games to go. You never know what could happen over these next 3 games. But the main thing about Kyogo, James, it's the importance of these goals. Yesterday, I mentioned it in the pre-match. Me and Paddy done that on Friday. And had you gone in at half-time, nothing each, attention could have kicked in yesterday. But in 4 minutes, you barely sat down, and in 4 minutes, the place was already in, I wouldn't say party mode, but real focused energy mode. And that goal just releases everything. And it certainly releases the players, and it unlocks them to go and dominate, because that's what they've done. Because Hearts did have a chance first minute in, something like that.
Yeah.
And that can happen, you know, in any game. Your teams will start fast and try and get a foothold, but we managed to weather that storm. And before I forget, and I probably would as the recording goes on, I don't think we can dismiss the importance of Joe Hart in a 3-0 win. It's easy to win 3-0 and say Kyogo, O'Reilly, McGregor all done their thing. Joe Hart made some big saves. There was one in the second half particularly. It's a great save at the guy's feet, a really brave save. It got flagged offside after the fact, but Joe Hart doesn't know that. But between that and the moment in the first minute or so of the game, he's been massive for Celtic these last few weeks, and I don't think we can discount what he brings to the team.
He was phenomenal yesterday. There was also one about 15-20 minutes in when we won up, and it's a fingertip save, and it's so, I think it was maybe Vargas that's eventually had the shot, and it's goal bound. It was a well worked move actually from Hearts. It turned us over in terms of possession, and it's going in all the way, and Hart just, you know, full stretch, gets a fingertip to it, and it's out for a corner. So between that, you know, diving the guy's legs, getting involved and being an outlet for his defenders as well. You know, we talk about the leaders in the team, and we talk about Hart as one of those leaders, but yesterday he was just imperious. Yeah, fantastic.
Let's get to the second goal. First goal was good. Second goal, real class all round. Shades of Jota and Kyogo linking up against, was it Ferencvaros? If I got my teams right back in the day, that Tuesday afternoon game, COVID times. What I'm saying is phenomenal pass, phenomenal finish, first touch.
Different. Yeah.
Same but different, James. And yes, we sit pretty much behind where Matt O'Reilly clipped it in. So we're in the north stand. You'd get a decent view of it, but it looked like he'd overcooked it. There was a bit of height in it. It looked like he'd put it too far. But it turns out it was absolutely perfect. And for Kyogo to run onto that and just divert it beyond the keeper first time, that's just something only a certain amount of footballers can do. You know, there's great strikers around there that don't have that in their locker, but Kyogo brings all the tricks to the party. Diving header for the first goal and touch of class for the second.
It really was. I mean, I think if you're a young player and you're wondering how you can, be like Kyogo, the big thing is don't panic. Most players, I think, kind of panic a wee bit there. They just get, lose sight of the ball. They, try too hard. He just stays very, very calm. And all he really needs to do is let that ball hit his foot. The ball's coming out of the air from some height, so it's got a lot of momentum on it. Just sticks his leg out, guides it home. It's a lovely goal. Great vision from O'Reilly as well to put it in there. So you're two up then, and you're really starting to enjoy your afternoon.
Yeah, you're in a really good position. Mazar in the comments said it's assist of the season in his opinion, and it'd be hard to disagree with that. Also, just a hello to Barry Kirby. Barry says it's his first time watching the live show, but long-time listener. So welcome to Barry and everyone else tuning in. At that stage in the game, James, you're well in control. 2-0 gives you that comfortable cushion. And I think I've mentioned Joe Hart there and the credit he's due. And we've given this fella a lot of credit in the last couple of weeks, but we can't again fail to mention James Forrest and the maturity he's bringing to this Celtic side. He's a guy who found himself very much on the periphery under Ange, and he did have some injuries, but at that stage a couple of years ago, he must have thought time was up in terms of his Celtic career, and he'd maybe just run down the clock and continue to be the professional he is, look after himself, be available when selected. But the reality might have been in his head that he wasn't going to feature much more. He's now been given this new lease of life all of a sudden, and he deserves every minute in a Celtic shirt because he's bringing such maturity in terms of his performance. And when you're 2-0 up and you're in control of a game, you then need to look to your experienced figures to ensure you remain in control.
Absolutely, and James is definitely that. He was outstanding yesterday. I have my moments with Jamesy, but I thought he was brilliant yesterday from start to finish. I think he played maybe 80 minutes, just under 80 minutes. You're seeing things that you've never seen from Jamesy before in terms of experience, using his body. He's been in the gym to keep himself, in shape so he can get picked. But that's given him a bit of upper body strength that I don't think he had before. He was nudging guys off the ball, but a combination of his body strength and knowing where to position his body because he's using all his experience. Brilliant yesterday. A real, outlet for us from the word go. Miff's the one that said, if you're going to come good at the right time. James is doing that for this season.
There is no better time to come alive than this last half dozen games or so. There's been a lot of criticism, James, at different times throughout the season about, Celtic's lack of 90-minute performances, things like that. We've gone in often enough at half-time, fairly tense. It's maybe 1-0 Celtic, one each, or whatever it might be. It's not that often throughout the course of the season you've gone in a couple of goals to the good. But yesterday was certainly one of those occasions. And there's a comment here from Plunge McNugget, who's a avid follower of the show, and he said that yesterday was an Ange performance. And I get what he's saying. It's that type of swashbuckling, free-flowing performance. But I do think if there's anyone still reluctant to do so, you've got to give absolute credit to Brendan Rodgers here. And I know there's folk in the comments and folks that join the show that aren't yet convinced. It's not too dramatic for me to say that yesterday was as enjoyable as a game you would see at Celtic Park. Two of the lads from Cork, actually, that I mentioned. One lad, Kieran, it was his first game at Celtic Park. And what a game to pick. It was brilliant. The atmosphere was there. But most importantly, the players done their job and played with freedom and just really, stuck at the task from start to finish. And it was just a really enjoyable task. And I think, as I say, you've got to give the credit to the manager there. He sets them up. He puts them out. He sets the formations and the strategies and the systems and all these things. And I think we need to put Ange in the locker. Ange was brilliant for Celtic and brought us some great occasions, 5 trophies in 2 seasons, and he'll always be remembered fondly for that. Now it's time to live in the here and now and accept that Brendan Rodgers is a man for the foreseeable, and he's here and he's doing a really decent job, James.
Absolutely. I've been behind Rodgers since he was brought back in. I think what Plunge is saying, though, is it feels as enjoyable as it was under Ange. That was a great 2-year period, especially the first year, I would say. And it was just going to Parkhead. You knew you were going to get great football. You were going to have an enjoyable afternoon. And it's Rodgers now showing that that's his football as well. So get into this summer, getting his signings next season, it really bodes well for the kind of football and the enjoyable times that we'll have. But yeah, 100%, it's Rodgers' team, and it'll be more so after this summer window.
Definitely, just in Plunge defending himself, and rightfully so, saying that he does give Brendan every credit. but notice that we haven't played like that very much this season. And he's spot on. You know, it's there's no, let's not kid on. It's been like this all season. But as you said, James, if there's a time to come good, it's now. You know, we had sticky spells, we had ups and downs, we had bumps on the road and dropped cheap points at times at Celtic Park. But if there's ever a time to, you know, make sure you're in top form, it's absolutely now. How are you feeling at half time then? As I say, you get in, you're 2-0, you're fairly comfortable. You know you've got that foothold in the game. What were you anticipating getting into that second half?
You know, get an early goal, kill the game, don't let them into it. You know, if they sneak 1-2-1, becomes nervy, all that stuff. There's one point in the second half, was about maybe 10 minutes in, and the football was just so good. I thought there's no way we're not scored in the next 5 minutes. We didn't actually score in the next 5 minutes, but the football was so good, you could just feel it. It was coming. That it took a wee bit longer than we'd have anticipated. I said to my dad at the end of the game, you maybe need to give Hearts a bit of credit for that, for keeping it down. You know, they put up a stern test. You know, as much as we were in full control and all the possession, lovely football, in the end they kept us out for the third goal until later in the game. So, you know, maybe I'm a wee bit generous there.
You know, you can always rely on Hearts to turn up for the big games, semi-finals, etc. Somebody made a good point.
Murray sits beside us, said he'd watched Naismith during the Rangers and Hampden game, hands in pockets for 90 minutes. We looked across in 15 minutes yesterday and he's jumping up and down, and he was for most of the game. Hearts fans, you need to question that. What are you giving? You're paying good money to come to Glasgow and get humped up the road versus what your team's capable of. Really getting shortchanged there.
That's it. Hearts are a capable side. We've experienced that. You know, as I say, they beat us 2-0 twice this season. You're shortchanging your fans if you're only turning up seemingly for Celtic games. I said this the other day, and I don't want to sound paranoid, but there seems to be a distinct difference in terms of the attitude when they come out to play against Celtic. But we'll skip by that for now. It's not a day to dwell on stuff like that. Into the second half, you know, as you say, James, the Hearts are fairly resilient. It would have been easy to crumble at 2-0, but Celtic have kept, you know, plugging away and doing their things. What do you think? Nicholas Kuhn's a guy that we've spoken about, you know, a few different times, and he's a player, I use the term a lot for him, that shows it in flashes, and I thought he did, you know, that at times again yesterday. There was a couple of spells, though, I noticed where either Alistair Johnson was coming down Celtic's right-hand side, or even Matt O'Reilly had kind of drifted into the space, and they both shirked Kuhn at different times because he wasn't making the right runs for them and maybe wasn't showing himself as available. And maybe that's to be expected. You know, he's a guy who's just stepped into the side since January, and maybe it'll just take a bit of time. My general feeling is there's a lot more to come from him. I think he's got talent, and I think he'll get better and better. But it's fair to say that at the moment he's still some, you're giving you some good stuff and some not so good stuff.
Yeah, I like him. I think he'll come good. But there was some poor stuff yesterday. That in particular, when he wasn't shown for Johnson O'Reilly, because they're doing a lot of hard work to get into those positions, and they need to be able to release a winger. The winger had to show. It was a wee bit hidey, to be honest with you. He was very close to Cochrane, I think, boy was marking him, and that's not where he should be, and he knows that. I think he's a wee bit safe. You know, if I stay close to my marker, I'll get the ball safe. If I get on the ball against my marker, I'm not going to go past him. I'm going to go back to Johnson, or I'm going to go inside safe. Go past him, make a mistake. If he gets it off you, that's fine. You're a winger, that'll happen. You'll be supported on that. But you've got to take the chance. You've got to take the risk. So he's got to take that safeness out of his game, and he'll be backed. But, you know, I understand, young, whatever. But just go at him, because the reward for getting past the guy is phenomenal. So, yeah, just matters to improve there. But I think he'll come good.
Yeah, I think he's developing. I think he's a talented guy, but I think he'll bring more to the party moving forward. Martin Linton in the comments says that Kuhn needs drop for next week. He's off for nothing at the moment. Fairly strong, but I would agree in terms of what we'll do next week, James. I think it absolutely must be James Forrest and Dyson Maeda as the starting wingers.
I think so. I mean, I'd said James would get dropped today, and he wasn't. I think that was more to do with Dyson's fitness. But then after his performance yesterday, now you're saying he's undroppable. It wasn't flash in the pan in the cup. It wasn't flash in the pan against St Mirren, sorry, and it wasn't yesterday. You know, he's starting to consolidate his performances. So he'll start, and Dyson we know 100% start. So, and that's maybe a good wee shot across Kuhn's bows to say, you know, you've had your shot in the first team. We want you to be in the first team, but you need to do enough to keep the other guys out. So you can learn from that.
Yeah. Celtic bring the changes a wee bit later, I think, than normal. So around about 71, 72 minutes, it's Iwata, Maeda and Ida that come on, and it's Hatate, Kuhn and Kyogo that go off. I was thinking that Callum McGregor might have gone off at that time, but again, it seems part of his recovery that he remained on and he stayed on right up until the death, 89th minute or so. Rodgers generally makes his changes at 60 or 65 minutes, but I thought yesterday, I mentioned Callum McGregor's tackle, right? 55 minutes in. And from then, for about 10 minutes, as I say, the place was going wild at times. And I think Rodgers realised he couldn't break up that momentum. It didn't make sense to make the changes at the times that he usually does. And he's kept going with that. And he's stuck with the 11 at that time that were producing the free-flowing football that was getting the fans excited. So he was right to do so. What do you think, though, of the impact of the few guys? But first of all, before we get to in general, need to credit Maeda. What's his name? John, who's the compere at Celtic. His name will come back to me, but your half-time announcer, make some noise for the boys and stuff. John Leddy, really decent guy, really decent footballer, but that's a separate story. He's clever with the announcements, right, in terms of the timing. So he brings on Iwata, he brings on Ida, they get roundly applauded. But he keeps Maeda back to last and he reintroduces Dice and Maeda. And again, it's similar to the Callum McGregor role. The place erupts. The place goes wild for him. And I hope he realises, and I'm about to read something out in a second that makes me think he does realise just how much he's appreciated at Celtic. He frustrates at times, of course he does, but let's not moan about that because we know what he offers, right? There's no point in you and I and the boys in the show going over old ground. We know that he's got ups and downs and strengths and weaknesses in his game, but he is so important to what Celtic are doing, and we'll find out all about that next week. He was being primed yesterday to make sure he's fit and good to go for the Rangers game. He tweeted last night, "I was moved by the cheers the moment I entered the pitch. Thank you to all my fans and supporters. I'm ready for the next game. We electric sign, peace sign, all that stuff." And it's great to see that. Listen, we'll criticise players, various players at different times. Liam Scales has had some criticism despite earning his new deal, all that stuff. But players see this, and I think we need to be more aware that players see this, these social media comments, and it's brilliant to see that Dyson feels so appreciated, and that can only be a good thing, James, heading into next week.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, again, to credit the fans, it's because they know it's more than just come back from injury. It's that you're out for the season. Oh, wait a minute, you're not out for the season. Or you might be back before the end of the season. You're back before the Rangers game. You're going to be playing the Rangers game. It's all of that. And it's Tavernier. That's exactly it. Just pin him in, get Maeda on him. So the fans know the whole picture of what Maeda coming back means. And he was on it. He wasn't timid. He wasn't kind of tickling into tackles. He was going at it full pelt. So he's ready. He's ready for next week.
Yeah, I think Dyson only knows 2 settings, resting or full steam ahead. And he was flying into tackles and bursting through. I think it's the only performance he can give, that high energy type of play. And yeah, he's come back in. It's again, I reiterate my amazement at a guy who was ruled out for the season 2 weeks ago, and now he's back and he will start next week. It's pretty incredible. But he just brings so much energy to the team, and it was great to see that reflected. There's a further change. Louis Palmer comes on in 84 minutes, but then it's the penalty. The penalty comes up on 87 minutes. Someone asked the question, I'll find out who in a second, about just why Matt O'Reilly hasn't been hitting these all season. But sometimes that's the way it goes. There's other guys. Yeah?
He had one and missed one.
Did he?
Early in the season.
Matt O'Reilly?
Because never you were calling for O'Reilly to get the penalties.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Somebody will correct us on that, but we have missed plenty. I think we've missed 5 across the season. There's various guys, Hatate, Adam Ida's missed penalties, Louis Palmer, and we've been struggling to find that guy, and then it lands at Matt O'Reilly's feet. He certainly showed all his coolness against Rangers with the clipped penalty down the middle. My dad sitting next to us asked the question yesterday on the approach, do you think he'll dink it again? I says no. I says he'll keep that in the locker for when required, but he'll keep goalies guessing. But what a strike, what an emphatic finish. And when you see that, you can absolutely understand the cries for a guy like that to be hitting them from here to eternity. Listen, he might be in the last few games of his Celtic career. There's every chance he'll get a big move in the summer. But while he's here, while we've still got a couple of big games to go, he's got to be on the pens, hasn't he?
Absolutely. He's showing his talent. I mean, we all know he can strike a dead ball, but it's more than just the hitting the ball. It's the calmness. I hate players taking a short run up or a slow run up have a good run up, pick your side, hit it firm. And he's none of that. He's just, I'll do it my own way. 2-step run up, slow, but so much power in that ball. Goalie picks the right way, he's never getting anywhere near that. So absolutely, O'Reilly on the bench when he run.
Yeah, it was great to see. Matt O'Reilly's he's loving life at the moment. He's a very
Yeah.
balanced kind of guy. We've covered all of that stuff in terms of how he approaches football, how he approaches life. But he's just in a really good place football-wise, and he accepted that it took him a few games to shake off the Atletico offer, which it would do. It's a life-changing move, life-changing money, but he's made his peace with it. And while he's here in a Celtic shirt, he's given his absolute all. And after his teammates came to celebrate with him, they were starting to walk back up the park, and he doubled back and done a bit of a run and jump towards the crowd. He's just really thriving in a Celtic shirt just now. Paddy made the point, and I agree with Paddy, that he looks a bit tired, a bit leggy after what has been a long season for him. But he's managing just to find those energy levels at the most important times. And 3-0 was every bit deserved for Celtic, but sometimes you don't get it, and sometimes you're 2-0 and then you concede one and you go in for a nervy final 10 minutes, set pieces, anything can happen. But I just think, and again, it's to repeat something that someone has made in the comments, it was just such a thoroughly professional performance from start to finish. And the third goal was the icing on the cake for it.
Yeah, but I think they've been really professional going back to, I think it was a Livy game, back in February or something like that. I think Celtic have been extremely professional. Rodgers just around that time could see what was needed. The path was in front of us and you could see what was needed to get over the line. And he seems to have captured the players and got their attention at that point. I think every game has been extremely professional. We'd have loved a couple of more goals yesterday, but 3-0 taking you into next week against, let's be honest, a tricky opponent that's taken 6 points off us this season. It was outstanding. Like I said earlier in the chat, one of my favourite days at Celtic Park for a few years.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, and I think anyone in attendance will fully agree with that. What about post-match? So the players certainly got a rousing reception as they made their way around, particularly Brendan Rodgers. The whole stadium, yes, absolutely. Green Brigade corner, giving it big, and it was great to see. What about Rodgers' comments, James? I don't know if you've picked up on them this morning, but he basically spoke about a few different things, blah, 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 and then let's go and have some fun next week. It's really pushed some buttons over on the other side of the city. They are not like that. There's some salty comments online, but he's playing this to perfection. He said at this stage in the season, it's 80% mental. He said the players are fit, they're in a good place. I think we've got a fully fit squad now that Dyson's back involved. And he said it's 80% mental. And he knows this. He's been here and done this before. He knows how to get across the line. And for a number of weeks now, he's been pitching this as the fun part of the season. This is where you go and enjoy yourself. This is what it's all about. Whereas Philippe Clement's comments have been getting more and more bizarre by the week. You might have heard something on Friday where he basically said that we both won last weekend 2-1, but he was basically making out that they won better 2-1. It was just utter nonsense, and it's something that he's been repeating in recent weeks as the pressure's got on. Whereas you look at Brendan Rodgers, he might as well be smoking a cigar in his press conferences. He is so relaxed and he's just very comfortable. And as I mentioned, that all translates to the players. They get that, but your manager sets the tone. He's the guy at the top of the tree that puts down the message and sets the players up for whatever lies ahead. And I think his relaxed but confident nature has got through to the players, and that's reflected in the performances, James, and it can only bear well for the remaining, what have we got, 3 league games and 1 huge cup game.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the shoulder. Look at Rodgers' shoulders. He's so relaxed, but steely focused at the same time. He's got a real message into these players. They know exactly what they need to do. And he's not saying next week is going to be a walk in the park or anything like that. He's not saying fun that way. But what he's saying is there's so much pressure around the games coming up to that game, before the split, after the split, winning those 2 games against Dundee and Hearts. And then you're in the position, win that game, and let's be honest, you've won the league. So that's what he means by fun. It's you've done all the hard work. Imagine we've gone into this game 3 or 6 points behind or something. That's not fun. You must win that game, like Rangers must win that game, and there's real pressure on you. But we've got ourselves in a position of comfort. So it's going to be fun. I cannot wait. It's going to be a long week.
It is, but it should be a fairly enjoyable week, and we'll see what happens here today. I'm going to have a glance at the Kilmarnock game at 1 o'clock, and we'll see what happens.
You've been watching every single minute of the 90.
there is huge pressure on them, and I think that pressure. There's the thing, right? We had a part to play yesterday, at the stadium, supporting the team in its truest sense from the stands, and that energy. I'm repeating myself, but that energy really, ignited the players and gave you the performance you were looking for. I think there's a tension across the road, and I think if they're not scoring early, I think that's going to kick in big time. And I will listen out for the halftime boos that you've heard several times this season in terms of how they support their club. Whereabouts? So this week ahead, James, we'll be back on Monday night with the weekly show as always, and then we'll let folks know here as soon as we can through our social media channels in terms of when the big match preview is going to be. It might well be on Thursday this week, Thursday night, but we'll let folks know so they can plan in advance and hopefully join us for that one. But in the meantime, James, any kind of final thoughts, comments about what we've seen at Celtic Park yesterday and what lies in store for this Celtic side?
I think, yesterday kind of encapsulates the season really, in terms of, it was looking good early doors in the season. It was looking very tough around the turn of the year. But there was a job to be done. The players have knuckled down and got it done, and they've got us in a position now where we're getting atmospheres like yesterday, and we're getting into next week in absolutely the box seat. We're nearly there. It's 3 points to the title, so just enjoy your week and enjoy your Saturday even more.
3 points to the title, eh? Yeah, there's good stuff. As I say, we've got a lot coming up this week. Weekly show tomorrow night. Big preview. Hopefully we'll get the four of us on it, myself, James, Paddy and Miff, and we'll give you the big preview ahead of Saturday. In the meantime, just a huge thank you to everyone that's joined us as always, particularly those who join us in the live comments and really contribute to what makes the show. I mentioned Barry and various others that have joined us for the first time, and if you are doing so, we thank you for your support and hope you're really enjoying what we do. And of course, thanks to everyone who listens to the Celtic Exchange podcast. As mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow night. Show should be live around about 8:30, 9 o'clock. But in the meantime, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you guys again very soon.